So, thank you for coming. Basically, we have all the candidates here tonight. I'm just going to go through.
Here are some results from a search.
Is that the answer?
Yes.
He was looking for a warm-up speech.
So basically, we got a format and rules. I'll go through real quick of how tonight's going to go. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to, I do have a timer that's going to go. So you'll have 90 seconds to address the audience and answer the first question of why you're running for selectmen during the introduction. Then you'll answer some questions that have been prepared. You'll have 60 seconds to respond to each question. After that, we'll take public questions. Will be asked to the group, and then each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to that question. Basically, we'll start with Daryl and just go down the line. As far as answering the questions, all candidates shall answer questions and address other candidates and the public in a professional manner. Due to the format, we may run a few minutes over. Negative or derogatory comments to the candidates by any of the participants will not be tolerated and immediately addressed by the moderator. Any continued actions may result in the individual being asked to leave. This rule applies to the audience and candidates. During the public question forum, all questions shall be posed to all candidates. Therefore, questions shall not be specifically directed to a particular candidate. All questions will be repeated if it is the moderator's discretion as to whether a topic or question proposed has already been answered during the other questions. Any hecklers in the crowd should be asked to leave. Any questions as to the rules and format shall be addressed. Any questions? Okay. So if you want to start, Daryl, and we'll just go down through. Everybody, 90 seconds. Do an introduction.
Sure. My name is Daryl White. I'm a new resident of Skowhegan. We moved here in November. We've been in Maine since 2012. Sold our business. My wife and I sold our business in San Francisco and came to Maine to live on a lake. And during that 5-year period, we became acclimated with some of the leaders here in Skowhegan and started to learn a little bit about this community and some of the things that were going on. And frankly, I was really inspired. So some of the folks in the mainland video, and Amber Lampy happened to be one of those. So I ended up spending some time with her and started consulting, and then started doing some community work here, and became acclimated with the strategic plan and the cultural plan that been laid out. And I'm highly motivated by those, and so we changed our plans. We decided to move here to Skowhegan and put our money where our mouth is, if you will. And so I'm running as an advocate of the strategic plan and the cultural plan.
Yep.
My name is Vanessa York. I am second generation Quinn, living in Skowhegan. Third generation running a family hardware store. I have done a few things throughout the community since I've been out of high school last week. And and I feel that it was my turn to step up and support this community that's done very well supporting me and my father over the past forever. And I do agree with this strategic plan. An advocate for the chamber, like the Main Street, and I just want to see this town grow.
Roger Staples, I'm a lifelong resident of Skowhegan. Someone asked me, and a friend of mine asked me, why are you doing this? And I said I was bored. But it was during mud season, so I really was bored. But seriously, I'm doing it because I want to get involved and be just part of the process. I want to learn the process, learn how town government runs, and be part of my community and watch it grow and move forward. And, this town's been really good to my family and I, and my parents' family also. My father was born here in 1920, over on Willow Street, and he decided to stick around and raise a family, so I thought that was a good idea, and I did too.
My name's Steve Conley. I'm a local pastor, so a business owner. I own a small construction company called Conley Inc. Also, I'm the chairman of the planning board, and through the planning board, I've been involved with the town for over 10 years now. Why am I doing this? I've always been very conservative. What I mean by that is I've always looked out for the personal property rights of the individuals of the town, the citizens of the town. I've always been concerned about heavy-handedness in government, and when this group of candidates was being put together, I only knew of one that I knew that was conservative, and so I had a little bit of concern. Now, I also have to say I don't know but one person other than myself up here. So, but there's only one that I knew of that had good conservative credentials, and I think it would look out for our businesses, look out for our property owners, and that's really the main reason that I chose to run. If there had been other good people that I was certain were good candidates, I would probably not have ran. But running, my desire is to serve the town. I see this.
Hi, my name is Paul Natale. I had something prepared, and excuse the glasses, it's the best ones I could find. I have two beautiful children. First of all, I'd like to thank the chamber, and I'd like to wish our candidates here best of luck next week. I'd like to thank the public also too for coming. I have two beautiful children, Chantel and Chelsea, a lovely fiance, Nora. I've been a public servant for a number of years in different capacities. I was a selectman for the town of Canaan for 3 years. I was on school board for 9 years. I chaired their support services committee, vice chaired their personnel committee. I was on the financial committee, and I was on the negotiation committee. I oversaw the building of the middle school and the Mill Stream Elementary School. I also was a trustee for the town of Canaan Library, and was asked to be on their building committee to build a brand new library up there, which is beautiful. They did a great job. I think they've actually extended the all-purpose room. I've also been on Lake George Park as a director for 4 years. Beautiful park, it's just a gem. If you've never been there, please do. They're doing a great job down there. Wonderful summer camp, and great people who do an outstanding job. My goals. Well, I can't tell you, unfortunately. But please don't go away. I'm going to let you know about them later. Thank you very much.
Don't hit it yet.
Go quickly.
Yeah, go quickly, okay. My name is John Gross. I live on Sandy Lane, 23 Sandy Lane in Skowhegan. I'm 68 years old, and I'm a Vietnam veteran, which I'm very proud of. I worked for the post office, like I said, for 32 years. I came to Skowhegan in 2007, and I got involved in the town only to go down to a meeting, and somebody here that I don't want to mention her name, she got me involved on the budget committee, and I really enjoy it because I watch and I try to guide where the money goes or keep a good eye on it because I'm conservative in nature. But it wasn't enough, and so I decided to be on the board run for the Board of Assessors, and I've been on there for the last 6 years. And I still feel the hunger that I want to go a little bit farther. And that's why I'm running for selectman. I just want to be involved. I want to be a watchdog for the people my age and younger ones. And so later on down the road, we can still have the younger ones get older here in Skowhegan. I have 3 grandchildren, and my daughter works at the middle school as an ed tech, and my son-in-law works over at New Balance. And like I said before, my goals are to make Skowhegan go forward.
I'm David Hayward. I guess I'm the youngest one here. Been a resident for 8 years. I grew up right in Anson. Spent a lot of time in Skowhegan in my younger years. Does not seem that long ago. Mulled around the idea of running for selectman for a few years. Actually pushed this year. My fiance Caroline. We got 4 kids as well. Really want to help the town grow. I can remember when I was younger, it was the place to be, the place to go. You don't have, as you guys can look around and see, a younger generation in the involvement of the town. I'd like to help grow that and see that move forward because, well, that's going to be the future of Skowhegan. And I really want to make sure that, we are growing and taking the right steps, bringing people into the town, attracting tourism, and getting things back on the right track. I'm deaf.
Okay, so the chamber had put out requests for questions, so these are not necessarily my questions, but from the community. So everybody will have 60 seconds to answer each one. First question. How do you define your budget priorities when tough decisions need to be made? And would you keep cutting the budget for the sake of looking good?
I would certainly prioritize the necessary items such as safety, public services, and education is always high on my list. And that's certainly a couple of folks here talked about investing in the youth and investing in the future. That's a big piece of it. Sorry, what was the second?
Would you keep cutting the budget for the sake of looking good?
Definitely not. I'm not in this role to look good, and I'm not in this role to be a politician. I'm in this role to serve the community, so it's not about me.
I'm very green about all of this. I would need to look at more things. I'm definitely here to listen, learn, and to speak out where it needs to be. Definitely not interested in looking good if it's important to the town. Again, safety and children, it will happen. But if you need the money, you need the money.
Each department head turns in a budget every year for their department. And I think you have to look at those individually and scrutinize them and weed out the waste, if there is any, and prioritize things that are actually needed. Each department head's budget is separate, but it all comes together. Obviously, there's so much money coming in and so much money going out. So I would look at to see if there's any waste that could be eliminated, but as far as just cutting the budget to look good, no.
Well, I'm not a politician. I do what I think is right. The tax base is not an open checkbook just to purchase whatever you want. As far as when evaluating budgets, A lot of it's going to come down to what kind of case can be made by the various department heads, the people that are responsible for how that money is spent in certain areas of the town. So all I can tell you is that I will be a faithful watchdog for the town. At the same time, I recognize there are times when you have to invest money, and there are things that the town is choosing to do as an investment that is good for the long-term growth of the town. I'm for responsible growth.
I think you have to work as a team. That brings everyone to the table. You do have your departments, and hopefully when you come to the table, you're transparent. Everyone wants everything they can possibly get out of their budget, but we have to work as a whole to be able to look at the whole picture, to be able to say that the town is going to benefit from it. Are there needs for cuts? Yes, there are, but hopefully in situations, you look at what is really necessary and say, what can we do right now, snapshot in time. Then looking at growth, you got to be able to invest to move forward also too. So it's a fine line, it's a balance. I've worked with many budgets, from Canaan with $1 million budget to the school board that had a $30 million plus budget. Been on those departments, and it's tough to make some calls, but sometimes you have to make it for the betterment that moving forward you'll see a positive action. Thank you.
I've been on the budget committee for 10 years, and through those years, most of the department heads have stayed the same. And I can honestly tell the public that what I've seen over the last 10 years, we have a very efficient town, from the fire chief, the police chief, the public works director, and the waste management, and the treatment plant. They do a wonderful job. We scrutinize the budget. The budget committee, we don't always agree with the selectmen. Hopefully I'll be on the other side after election, but basically, public safety is the most important thing. We have to have a good fire department, we have to have a good police department. If we don't, crime goes up, people don't want to move here anymore, they don't want to bring the kids to school here. So, that's my stand on it.
Start off by saying never cut a budget just to cut a budget to look good. Somebody has to be the bad guy, somebody has to do that. I'm okay with that if that's what it has to do. And it is about scrutinizing the budget. It is spending what we need to when we need to, and then having that money available when we need it somewhere else for something else in another department, or for a new truck, whatever the case may be. But it is responsible, and I think what somebody else said, responsible spending and scrutinizing budgets and making sure we're not just throwing money out the window because it's there.
What are your 3 goals? What are 3 of your goals you want to accomplish during your term as selectman?
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm an advocate for a strategic plan and a cultural plan. So one of the objectives is to diversify the tax base and to bring in new business to town. Another objective is to further product development in terms of drawing visitors to the area and improving quality of life. And another objective is to focus in on the arts and other cultural aspects locally to try to continue to improve in terms of Skowhegan being an excellent, livable town.
Three goals. I want to support this town and its community. I want to listen, learn, speak out, make choices.
Okay, in my lifetime, I would love to see the heavy trucking eliminated from downtown. I know it's been discussed, and gone over, and looked at. I think it can be done. I don't think you're ever gonna eliminate 100% of it, but I think we can eliminate a lot of it. I would challenge anybody to go stand on the corner down here at Bloomfields and stand there for half an hour. Come back and tell me what you think. It's scary. That's one. That's it. We have a capped landfill that would look awesome with a solar panel. I think the town could, if that happened, I think the town could use the electricity for the town or sell it. Beep. Two.
You gotta speak faster.
Oh.
3 goals. First one is to be the hardest working selectman that Skowhegan's ever had. Skowhegan faces all kinds of challenges. One of the things I would like to see take place is that we work harder to bring in more business. Being involved with the town's activities and being on the committee that actually did the long-term plan for the town, I know where money is disappearing. It's where it's just being funneled to. And we need to have businesses here that will attract, I just want to say this, families that will have nice homes, that will create a good amount of reasonable taxes that come in, as opposed to bringing in.
Okay, I guess I have to go very quickly here. My goals would be, I agree with you, downtown businesses, trying to improve and getting more businesses in here is definitely a plus. It brings in more of your tourism, and people want to stay here and hopefully grow here. Our school system, making sure our school system is the best it can possibly be. We're trying to keep our kids here, giving them the best education they could possibly have is a plus, and we work hard for that. It's not a goal, but I listen. I think it's very important that we get out into the community more and listen to what people have to say, what they want here in the community. I think you do a good job. I think we do even more, especially when we get into the budget and such. People really should know what's happening with their money. Last thing, I know it's number 4, sorry, but getting more people to vote. I mean, we'll get about 13 to 15% if we're lucky. It'd be nice to have more, especially the young voters. I'd love to see them.
Well, I guess the first thing I'd like to see is the members of the economic development start doing their job and start going out and recruiting more businesses to come to town. I was told when I first got here that the Renaissance Center, they were going to build bathrooms, so as the gentleman told me, if we build it, they will come. Well, it was $250,000 a seat at the Renaissance Center. They haven't come yet, so we need to get businesses in town, businesses with a good established track record. And as far as just trying to run the place, run the town as a selectman, we have to look at it at the point that we're not on the coast. We have to live with what we have here. And yes, you're going to have. They're stingy, you know that?
60 seconds. All right. Economic development is key. Obviously, bringing in companies, jobs, like I said, it attracts families, and helping improve and getting that tax base up. Because looking around, taxes can be a little high in Skowhegan overall. But also a big thing, I want to challenge the younger generation to get involved. Be out there making them answer questions that I have, or ask me questions, or getting them to meetings, looking into what are we doing. A lot of people have asked me when I say, oh, I'm running. Well, what's going on with the river run? Nobody knows. They write about it every so often, but it's been like 14 years in the making now. So more pushing on these projects. May or may not like it, but it needs to be done. And making sure that we're really putting the best foot forward in the town of Skowhegan, and have somebody listening and relaying that and working on it, and making sure that we're doing the best we can to make sure this town stays around for generations.
I take it you're a conservative, right?
So, most of you guys have touched on this one a little bit, so you can expand. Describe one activity or subcommittee that you've been involved in within the town, what it's meant to you, and how it has shaped and impacted the town.
Well, I'm on several. I'm on the Main Street Board. I'm also on the Kennebec Valley Tourism Council Board. I'm a member of the Craft Brew Festival Committee. I'm a member of the Cheese Bread Beer Committee. I'm a member of the radio station. I run a show on the radio station. I'm a member of the West Arts Committee. It's meant a lot to me. I've in a sense changed the back end of my career to dedicate to this community. Again, I see this as a tremendous effort, and there are actually tremendous people working behind the scenes in these various committees, and they are making excellent progress. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of those teams. I'm very confident that. Okay.
Everybody has to have their chance.
This may or may not be considered a committee, but about 4 years ago, I was talked into being a volunteer firefighter. It took a long time to be talked into that. I decided I'd do it, take the course. After about 5 calls and 3 training, I knew right away that was not anything I could do. But my respect for the fire department skyrocketed with everything that they need to learn, what they need for equipment, and how to save people and homes. And so yeah, I mean, safety is huge, and it taught me a lot as to all the departments that I really know nothing about and what they do. So it's very interesting to get into that.
I really haven't been on any committees, but this is a beginning for me. And if I'm elected, I'm sure committees will come. And so I would be eager to join that crowd.
Married a girl from up here, Kathy Lowe. Moved up here over 14 years ago. Got involved with the planning board. I'm on the planning board and the public safety building committee. On the planning board, I saw how government can affect individuals and businesses. And as my tenure grew there, I strived to try to protect the rights of people. I realize every time a new ordinance is made, you're losing some rights. And there has to be new ordinances occasionally, but they need to be well thought out, because every forfeiture of rights is you never get them back. And so I've watched out for our community that way on those boards. I love serving Skowhegan. I love the people of Skowhegan.
Indirectly, I was on the school board for many years. A number of subcommittees. Some of the ones I'm very proud of is the negotiation committee, the finance committee. Negotiation, we did the best, and they continue to do the best they can to keep wages at a good rate, so we still get good teachers here, but also what we can afford to do too. There's also Lake George, a great group of people out there, and they're expanding even more so. We're seeing more what they're trying to do to get the word out, and hoping that we get more people involved with it, because it's a beautiful, beautiful place if you've never been there. They've done a great job down there. I was in a lot of committees when I was in Canaan. I'm getting more involved here in Skowhegan. I've been here for over 30 years. I know a lot of you out here, and I'll do my very best to support you all.
Well, I guess I have to say that the best committee that I was on was, I volunteered at the Chamber of Commerce for 5 years with Corey King, who's no longer here, but suitable replacement took place. But my most rewarding is probably being a tax assessor in town with Bill Van Tynen and company. We went through some big times with SAPI, with over $200 billion in trying to work out a tax abatement for them, to keep them here and keep them open. But I enjoyed the budget committee for 10 years. I've met several people, and I find that the people in town, the people running the departments are genuine people that are in the same boat as we are. They're trying to watch their pennies and make everything still workable.
I haven't been on any committees or boards. I spent a lot of time on the fire department in Hanson, working closely with Skowhegan. We always kind of, I guess you'd say, almost looked up to them, wanted to train like them, work with them a lot. I tried to help out when I was with New Balance. We did a lot of community service, which is really where I've spent most of my time, is getting my hands dirty and doing things, or dressing up like a big shoe. Things of that nature. So I haven't been on the committee side of things, but I've always had my hand in the mix. Doing the work, moving the tables and the chairs and setting up, tear down. So this is kind of the transition onto the other side of that.
What is your stance on the way that civic organizations must request town funding? Should the petition process continue or not, and why?
Sorry, one more time, Jason.
What is your stance on the way that civic organizations must request town funding? Should the petition process continue or not, and why?
For me, that's an easy one. I mean, maybe there's some issues with the petition process itself, but I fully endorse inclusive government. It might be tedious to go through these processes, but I think the more input that you can get from the constituency, the better.
I would just about agree. It is very difficult sometimes to get the signatures that you need to go on the warrant. But it does secure your place on the warrant, and it also secures the money, the funds that you're asking for, as opposed to just being on the warrant and someone else deciding, I don't know, the chamber wants to be on there, let's just give them 50 grand. Or let's just give them 10 grand. Or let's give them $1. So I think that kind of secures their financial base if they do it.
I don't have a problem with it. I think what it does is it makes people ask questions, and they approach the petition gatherers. So I think that's a good thing.
I agree with what he just said. It's anything to become more informed, make people more accountable for how they would use taxpayer funds is something that's good.
I would have to agree. I mean, if you don't get out there and voice what you need and justify it, there's no reason why we should be giving you money. So I'd like to continue on with that process, and then also have them at the town meeting so they can explain even more, because there'll be more people there, and then people can make a good decision as to should we fund that amount or less. Hopefully they get their amount, but it's still a budget.
This, this process of petitions and whatnot has been a real stick in everybody's craw as far as the budget committee goes and the selectmen. We've tried in the past to iron out things and come up with a plan instead of doing petitions and things like that. It's been very difficult because in the final chapter, the request has to go to the people at the annual town meeting. And they can address, they can change anything, they can, they can go up to that amount that they're requesting. And we try to meet with those people and, every year. And it's really tough because there's taxpayers in town that feel as though some of their money should go to the different organizations. And it's really not the budget's place or the selectmen's place, but the voters at the meeting to decide what's going on.
I agree with everyone here. I think we're all on the same page on this one, that it's crucial to have something like that and make you want the money from the town. You have to put in some work to put it before the town. Make the town also, I think somebody said, makes them ask questions. It gets whatever department or group or whatever may be out there so people can see them, talk to them, feel them out. And definitely having that town meetings and really presenting it there as well would be good as well.
What is the single biggest challenge facing the town of Skowhegan over the next 12 months? And how do you propose to deal with that challenge?
Biggest challenge in Skowhegan. I think as a community, I think diversifying tax base to me is a big challenge. It broadens future opportunity. That would be my answer.
Economic growth. I think we've had our ups and downs, and it's been a little bit of a struggle. And I think that's definitely the way to grow this town. And that's the way I'm going to do it is, again, to listen, learn, and speak out, but then to work closely with like the chamber and Somerset Development to, constantly see and pull down any ordinances that may block a business coming to town.
I don't know if this is a challenge now, but it could be. We have two global industries here in town, Sappy and New Balance. And who knows, any day something could happen to either one of those. And it would be in our best interest to try to keep them here, of course, jobs and tax base. So I think that could be a challenge. And another thing would be the new public safety building that's being discussed. I think it's going to happen, and it should happen because it's way overdue.
Probably every year the biggest challenge is the single largest expense that the town has, which is our school systems. At the same time, the town needs to grow, and so it's incumbent on our part to be ever vigilant to seek out, provide incentives for new business to come in. We need to be, Maine itself isn't business friendly. We've got to make our town one of the safe havens for business in Maine, and that's really important. Like you said, the public safety building that's proposed is a big thing. The expansion of the ball fields is a big thing. There's a lot of things that are going to require some initial investment that will create some difficulties and some differences of opinion among people in the town. So those are the challenges that I see coming.
Just in the nick of time.
I think our taxes, tax base. I did a little summary of what has happened in the last 5 years, and Skowhegan budget has gone up almost $300,000 every year in the last 5 years. I'm kind of curious where that money has gone and what we've done with it. And it never fails when we get to this point of the year, people start coming out of the woodwork saying, geez, my taxes, what's happening with the money? Where's it going? So with this new reassessment that has just come down through, people are probably going to be looking and saying, okay, so we got reassessed up, it must mean we have a lot more money to work with. So what's going to happen with that, or does it reflect the other side? Can we bring our taxes down because our assessments went up? I think that's going to be a challenge. You're worried about the building coming up. I don't know how it's going to get there, but they keep on trying to put money into it. We'll see what happens.
Well, I have to say, I have to agree with Mr. Conley as far as the public safety building goes. It's going to be a big cost to the town, but we'll probably end up borrowing most of the money, but it'll be on bond, it'll be bonded out. My biggest concern with the town was the sewer system that they're trying to update. I kind of felt like they borrowed more than they should have at one time, but that's my own opinion. As far as getting businesses in town, yeah, we have to get out of town to get the businesses to bring them in, and that's not taking place. And we need to do that. And without businesses coming in, it really helps the tax base. If you make it a better community, you have people living here sending 5 or 6 kids to school, and it's costing $25,000, $30,000 to send those kids, and you're getting $2,000 on your house taxes. Do the math.
Biggest challenge is, I think, going to be the economic development. I mean, certainly the new public safety building is right up there. I know there's a lot of hard opinions either way on it. But really what it comes down to, I think, is that economic development and bringing companies in, and bringing those jobs in. And that'll help out across the board with a lot of things if we're able to do that and not rely on just 1 or 2 big businesses in the area. Get more, so that way if one does happen to leave for whatever reason, it's not going to cripple us. I mean, how many times have we seen in different towns where one paper mill goes under and the town is close to foreclosure? We need to look at changing it up, getting multiple businesses, and I believe Daryl said it is diversifying.
So, along the business line, what type of new business would you like to see come to this area? Do you feel that we are a business-friendly community? If not, what would you do to help change that?
Well, as far as being a business-friendly community, I've not been around long enough or had a business in this town to really speak to that point, but I know what I see, and I definitely feel that some change in that area in terms of diversification. And, for instance, the downtown experience. I live downtown, be able to come downtown with a couple choices on restaurants, etc. These things all self-perpetuate. You get an anchor tenant in, other businesses come. You know, the Runner River project has been looming for a long time, but it's in the final phases. It's in the fundraising phase. That in itself will potentially change the culture in this area in terms of bringing in the types of business that would acclimate around that, because that plan's not only about the river, it's about trails and walks and tying in art.
I don't think there's any one specific business that I'd like to see in this town. I'd like to see, every building that's empty full. What was the other question?
Do you feel that we're a business-friendly community? If not, what would you do to help change that?
I think the community tends to be business friendly. I think sometimes we put in ordinances that are knee jerk and they don't need to actually be there. And then sometimes I think the state puts out their ordinances too that can tie hands of municipalities, but. So yeah, just kind of work on cutting through that red tape and making sure businesses come in.
I think anything reasonably be nice, but I think renewable energy is our future. May not like it, but it's here to stay. Renewable energy company come in and open up a shop would be an awesome thing.
During my time on the planning board, we strove to make sure that we didn't do anything to create an extra hardship on any business. And we typically went out of our way to streamline anything that was required of them. The state and even the federal government will place laws that sometimes we have to do what they say, but whenever we are given the choice, we try to provide a situation where we provide the most friendly environment that we can. So the intention of the town is to be friendly. We have the deck stacked against us because of a lot of the things that have taken place. Some of those have been relaxed recently, but from down in Augusta. And so, it's just we need to be creative. Find creative ways to bring big businesses in that can be a base. We've got...
I've always believed in small businesses. We have enough storefront here that would definitely help out those who would like to start. But I agree with you. The state and federal government, it's the same thing when you're on school committee. You're required to take this money and do this, even though it might not be for the best of your town or for your school, to be able to get what you really need, which is a small amount over here. So it's very hard trying to balance that. Skowhegan, yeah, I think they've been very friendly. They work very hard trying to establish somewhere out there that people would want to come here. And I know the arts have been doing a good job. We have the mill, the grain mill, that's been doing very well. We're very fortunate to have Sappy and New Balance here. We need to keep them here. They provide a lot of our tax money. So much so that I think Sappy produces almost $6 or $7 million, and that's most of our budget.
Well, I'd like to say that there's an answer for Skowhegan. It's tough because you've got places in Maine that are doing well, but it's because they're on the coast and it's attractive to people for tourism. So we really need to get a group of people from Skowhegan to brainstorm with people from the economic development from Brunswick, down that way, south of Augusta, because they seem to be able to bring the Naval Air Station. They brought businesses and more business into Brunswick than probably anywhere else in the state, and find out what the trick of the trade is, instead of floundering here with secondhand shops and it just doesn't work as far as tax base and bringing people into town. So I really think that's what we have to do. We have to get out there and get the information and then work with it.
I think it's going to have to be a mix. It's going to have to be a mix of the local small businesses and those larger businesses that do provide a big chunk of our budget currently. More manufacturing can't hurt, more arts can't hurt. And as far as being business friendly, I haven't seen that we're not. Can things improve? Things can always be improved. That would take requiring digging in, looking at it, and seeing, even if it's a little change, what we can do to make it that much more friendly, or attract another big company to come in and set up shop, even if it's a call center. There are plenty of different jobs out there that can come to town and really provide a boost.
Do you think the highway department should plow all the town roads, or should it be contracted out?
In all honesty, I would need to have the information in front of me, various budgets and scenarios for me to even comment on that question. So,
That's what I was thinking as well. You'd have to look at the numbers, just to see what the benefit would be, yes or no. My biggest fear, however, is if we contracted out and we went to a business out of town, then we're sending our money away from this base, and then what would the town of Skowhegan do, what would they do? If they would only do summer, then people are gonna lose their jobs. So I'd have to research that more before I make that definite decision.
I definitely think the highway department should plow our roads. I think it's the best way to go. Really can't depend on contractors. I'm sure there's some good ones, but also some bad ones. I have faith in the town plowing our roads.
I have to say, I don't have enough information, but I would be inclined to think that we should be able, in a small town like this, to plow our own roads efficiently and to maintain a road crew that would take care of our own roads, all our intersections and things of that nature. So the idea of just turning it over to somebody outside is a little scary.
Not knowing all the information, the best I can say at this point is I agree with you. Most people on the panel that I think we can plow our own roads. I think we're small enough to be able to do that. I do get a little concerned when new roads are developed in town, taking over that responsibility. I saw that up in Canaan where we get a little questionable as to someone living out on a very long dirt road and they want it fully plowed. We have to have a little bit of discussion about that and the shape of the road as it is. But I think Skowhegan's going to be doing a great job of their plowing it as best you can. And you're right, if you get into a contract, you don't know who you're dealing with, how well they'll be. So I think it's okay to keep our employees working.
Well, the street department, the public works, they do bring more people on in the wintertime than they have in the summer because of the winter storms. There's 88 miles of road to plow in the town of Skowhegan. And I could see where they might have to, emergency situation, to get a contractor to plow if they have vehicle problems or manpower problems. I think it happens, it will happen occasionally. I think it's happened occasionally in the past. But basically they do most of the plowing. But once again, vehicle-wise, manpower-wise, they bring somebody else on, but it happens in the wintertime. Things break down. They may have somebody affected. They need to get it plowed, and that's what they have to do. They have to make that move to go out and get it cleared off. That's all there is to it. If they have to hire somebody, they have to hire somebody.
I definitely would say that town is one plowing the roads. As far as, you mentioned, of course, putting in other people when needed. Things happen. We get some bad storms up this way. Manpower, I know last year was an issue that had come up time and time. So, things are going to happen. So, really digging into it, getting more information would probably be the best thing to do and see, what we could do to help alleviate that if that is something that needs to happen with some outside help. But keeping it in town would be the best thing at this point.
If you received a $1 million grant to use for the town any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
How much?
$1 million.
Well, I would certainly invest in Rowan River, because I think that's a driver. Once that's in place, other businesses will follow. It's an anchor opportunity for the town. I wouldn't necessarily put all the chips in that basket. I mean, of course, you want to see what other looming issues were out there. You had educational needs, etc. But I'm a believer in that the strategic plan and the river is an instrument that can help diversify the tax base here, drive new business into town, and provide new opportunities.
I would put it into the part of Skowhegan that actually makes us human, like the Skowhegan Library, the Skowhegan History House, Coleman Park, the memorial, because if we don't have those pieces that remind us all the time of what we are as a community, it's hard to move along. And then I would want to finish the projects that are already started, like Running River and the ball field complex and things that are. And then I'd like another $1 million.
$1 million doesn't go far nowadays. I don't know. Wish I had a list in front of me. Downtown area. Could use it. Vanessa made some good points. I would agree with those. So, I'm not sure. I have to think about it.
Well, I don't have enough information to answer that question. There's too many possibilities, too much that needs to be researched to be able to say how I would use $1 million if it was handed to us. You have to remember, none of us sitting on this board are currently selectmen, so we're not privy to everything that's taking place, and so.
I have to agree with you on that. I'd like to see what we have out there that we've been trying to reach the goal for. I do feel that the infrastructure of the town would be important also too. How do we improve our flow through our town so that way when businesses want to come in, people do get in here easy and get out easy. Been here for 30-odd years and watching people come through and then turn around going back through the heavy equipment that comes through. It makes it a little bit difficult to navigate through here. And I would think that if we can improve more, which I have seen, we have better lighting now and our sidewalks look better. I think companies then say, this is a nice looking town. I think I'll invest my time to start my business here. So I think I would use that money there.
Well, I guess I'd have to say whatever would affect everybody in town would be the price of fuel. I guess if I had my wish, it would be that the town of Skowhegan start their own oil delivery service and have a few trucks and cut down the price of oil so people could have it a little bit easier. But that $1 million, once again, probably doesn't go far enough. And set up a business that doesn't have to do with, in other words, make it a separate entity. We make it the Town of Skowhegan Oil Company, LLC, or whatever the case might be, and give everybody in town a break as far as fuel goes. That's the only thing I can, just off the top of my head, I thought about. Other than that, $1 million wouldn't do much else, I don't think. But you can give relief to the people in town, that's the thing.
$1 million. I know phase one of the river run is actually a little under that, away from funding. We got 65% of the $2.2 million for that. So that's an option. I do think though infrastructure should be first. if we just got $1 million to do whatever I want with, because there are plenty of, you know, roads and other things around town that do need to be taken care of. You know, we're still working out on North Ave, digging that up, repaving it, digging it back up, repaving it. Really need to get a lot of these things finished, upgraded to support more traffic for tourism and businesses coming in, things of that nature. Once we're set there and River Run's done also after that, we'll be able to attract those people and those companies and help grow the town.
I don't want to turn this last question into debate. So it's a very touchy subject right now. Do you support the expansion of the homeless shelter in Skowhegan? Why or why not?
You gotta give us a little more time to.
No.
Of course, that's a touchy, yeah, that's a touchy subject. You know, on the one hand, you have property rights issues there, and those are very important. And you know, I'm a big believer in the individual rights, but at the same time, the rights infringe on others. So, you know, is there going to be blowback to the community? Or can the community support any potential blowback? You know, I think the whole thing has to be put in context. You know, beyond that, I need a little bit more information. I mean, we have an entity that is working under the guise of a nonprofit and with a mission of doing good, and you know, 100% support that. You know, you have to evaluate the benefits. Are the homeless people benefiting? Are they getting the help they need? And is that turning into something that puts them on a track to recovery or to a better situation?
That's definitely a hard question. I don't know the whole story, don't have all the information. I wouldn't mind protecting our own, giving people shelter when they need it. But my understanding is a lot of the people there are not from this community. And I don't know as though we should be, or anybody should, under that guise, take care of someone out of this community. So, I don't know, without more information, that's a tough one.
I'm not really familiar with the proposal to expand it. Talking tax dollars here? No. I suppose I would support it. I don't know, how big is the expansion? I mean, I'd have to look at
45 rooms.
45 rooms? See, I'm not familiar with the proposal at all, so.
Okay, I can answer that with an affirmative. I am, because I know all about it. Right now, the situation there is one where people are being housed. The people are already here. What they're proposing doing is putting in a new facility that was designed to house people. They're already here. Okay? Currently, I'm the chairman of the planning board, so I know this. There's nothing the town can do to stop them from putting that in if they meet all the requirements of our ordinances. There is no zoning which limits their use. So nobody has any ability to stop them if they meet all the requirements. The only way you could ever do that is to enact zoning here in Skowhegan, which we have been against forever, just because we don't want people telling us that we can't move a rock in our backyard without a permit. But I trust the man that is working on this. I think it's a good thing. The people are already here. It's providing a good facility for them.
I wasn't aware of as much information, but I'm very glad we spoke about this. If they're within the laws and they're doing it by the book, you can't just drop these people away. I mean, they got to have a place to go. Trying to improve that as best as possible and moving forward, hopefully getting more services. And if they're doing it correctly, you just can't say no to them. They're still going to go somewhere else. So if they are here, and they're trying to do the best they can to give them services and a better way of life, and hopefully helping them out in one way or the other, I have to agree with it. If they're not doing it correctly, and they haven't been transparent, they haven't been to the table and talking about it, being very transparent about it, okay, now you have some questions for them. But if they're here, they're here. I mean, you can't do anything about that. You can't kick them out.
I had the fortune to go last night to the meeting about the homeless shelter, and I was impressed with the planning board. They did a wonderful job. My problem is with the salesman. He doesn't seem to know all the information that was requested of him. He seemed like he was always turning around asking the second or third in command who's there at the homeless shelter to assist now all the questions. He didn't have the answers. So my problem being is with the Crowbar Hotel up the street, and a lot of people that are transients coming in, and it's being used as a halfway house. I have my problems with it. And I think probably the people of Skowhegan eventually will see it's fine, but maybe the salesman that we have a problem with, he's not being totally upfront with us or the people around.
I'd definitely like to see more information about it. At this point, if you ask me if I support it, I would have to say no. I do kind of live right in the area, and there have, been various complaints by people I know of in the area about it. And I'm not saying that we don't want to help people. Obviously, everybody needs help at some point in time in their life. At what expense to the town is the real question. Just last summer, I had a 30-person brawl in front of my house. In the middle of the street. Shut down traffic. Over. Some of the people may or may not have come from there. Some of the people coming actually from the street right down the street from me. I know where it originated. And those are the things that definitely have to be addressed. We got to make sure that it is something that's good for the town. And more information would be good before I can officially 100% say no or yes. But as of right now, I would be on board.
Hey, that's it for this set of questions. Steve, I know you got to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to say any closing remarks real quick?
If you should happen to cast a ballot for me, I'll be the hardest working selectman that you've ever voted for. I'll do my best to do good investigation, make the wisest decisions I know how. I'll listen, hear what people in the community have to say. I care about you, I care about this town. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll open it up to the public for questions, not off of any of the questions that were just asked. So if you have any new questions that you'd like answered, the candidates will have 60 seconds to respond. Anybody have anything? Yes.
The median age in Skowhegan is approximately 50 years old, and a lot of you have mentioned, ramping up the youth and getting them involved. And I mean, if you've been to a town meeting, you've seen, maybe 10 people below the age of 40. It's not well represented. So I'm just wondering what your ideas are to get the youth involved, to get them on the committees, and to bring them into town and keep them here with their families.
That's an awesome question. Thank you. I'll give you a couple examples. This year I chaired the Maple Fest committee, and it was the first year I've been involved in the event, so I kind of spent the year watching the event, and that's one thing I noticed right away. There's just a dearth of youth, the teen group. So I think being creative is one way. So next year we're going to implement a Maple Madness basketball tournament. We're going to involve the high school and the various middle schools. We're going to draw from communities all around the region. We're going to involve the radio station. We're going to do little disc jockey thing outside. Just bring them in, and it's a, it's a feel-good type of scenario. Part of the strategic plan, there's a line item that talks about pride in the community, and there's also another line item about trying to get high school kids, et cetera, middle school, well, high school kids to volunteer in the community. So I think, focusing in on those types of programs. And
I agree with Dale about programs and whatnot. However, most of the things I have done in my life has been supported by my mother. So my mother has always been right there to, let's try this, and we always did it together. I have a niece with 2 babies. I have a 16-year-old. All the time trying to talk to them and what do you want to do, where are we going to go, what do you want to see, how, so overall parenting is a great thing, but then at the same time, if you do it with your children and go to these activities, then they always remember that as opposed to anything else. So yes, I would like to see parent-child involvement in the activity that's going on.
I think kids have to be exposed to this type of thing at a young age in school. You have to be taught. One of the reasons I'm doing this is I'm hoping that my grandkids will see what I'm doing and maybe someday say, hey, he did it. Maybe I can do it.
I think it all starts in the school systems. And I would like to see, because that's where all the kids are, to be able to teach them well and understand what it is to be in a community. I don't know how Brent would feel about that, our superintendent, about proposing that before they graduate, they should do some community time. 10 hours, 20 hours, I don't care what it is, but you come into the community and you see how the community's working, what you can do to help out, and see how businesses are working, and so on and so forth. But you do some community time. I think that way you get a better idea of oh, this is not a bad place to live. This wouldn't be a bad place to start a business. I don't think our children get that opportunity. I work in the IT department, been there for 30 years. The first thing you do is a child's always on that phone and they're looking elsewhere. They're looking, wow, that place out here and that place out here. I think you have to start in the community at the school level and say, listen, before you go out and do those things, there's some important things and you have to learn about this actual town that raised you. So please.
Well, you talk about volunteerism and going to meetings and things like that and getting involved. I find that when I was growing up, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, mom stayed home, raised the kids, dad went to work. Well, that was a long time ago. Now it's to the point where mom and dad both have to work in order to have a house. It's going to come to the point where mom and dad aren't going to want the kids to move out anymore because they're going to need them to help pay for the house. Volunteerism and getting people involved, as you can see, it's dropped off. People don't have the time. They don't instill the values into the kids because they may be one parent, maybe the mother, and she's got 3 or 4 kids to take care of because dad decided to leave the nest. And it's slowly, it's up to the family unit to get things rolling, and you can't, I'm sorry I have to disagree with you. School teachers have enough to take care of already without trying to.
I think it's a multi-angle approach. I mean, certainly I do think in the school system and getting our youth in the school system to want to stay here, but it's also bringing those jobs in that they're looking to do, the tech industries and a lot of the newer industries. We need to be targeting those ones so we get those college kids fresh out of college coming to Skowhegan to work instead of going elsewhere, going across the country. And that'll also, I think, help keep some of the kids that are already here.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple of you talk about tech stuff. What's the answer to getting us some real fast broadband in town?
But that's what I didn't hear.
some fast broadband. I mean, you know, our internet
Oh,
speed in
internet,
this town
yeah,
is
internet.
awful.
Well, I believe that's being worked on at the state for Hunter Johnson, who was recently the SCDC here, has moved on to the state, and that was a priority project for her while she was here and was making great progress, and I think that's one of the reasons why the state brought her in. So optimism is.
But you-
I have no idea.
Well, I don't know that there is an answer, but it seems like that could be definitely deterrent in bringing in certain types of businesses, certainly.
Hugely,
You
hugely
can't,
important.
you can't do it without something that's moving. I can hardly run a brewing business with it, and you can't, so I don't know how people.
More competition.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity with Governor King when he decided that all 7th and 8th graders would get laptops. My child was one of the first ones to get them, and I just shook my head going, at this time, now, we should have been putting more into the infrastructure of broadband, getting it out to the community, and then the children would still get their computer time because there was computer labs and so on and so forth. But that was a great opportunity at that point. The state had a lot of funding at that point. Now they're realizing that, geez, we definitely have to do this. If we had done that 10 years ago, we would have been in a much better suit. But it'll eventually get there because you have to, because everything's relying upon it, no matter what. You will get there, but it'll be a little bit slower.
But it seems like, you know, just on the edge of our town, it's not a problem. I mean, I'm not isolating Skowhegan by any means, all of the rural areas. But, you know, there's certainly very fast broadband in other parts of the state. It just seems to stop on your town.
You guys want to answer? No?
Well, I really, things seem to, it takes a long time to get to the rural communities of Skowhegan for the broadband and a lot of other things, but we're kind of, geographically, we're in a situation that things aren't going to change overnight. It's going to take a while.
I'd have to agree. I mean, it probably will take a while. Building up that infrastructure is part of it. Biggest way to really speed up it is probably getting some of these tech giants that are looking for places to go to get hubs in the area. There's no reason, I don't see why Skowhegan can't be one of those hubs that then spiders up into the surrounding communities for like internet. I mean, the closer you get down south, the faster the internet gets, even just in general, not so much to coast or anything like that. I have friends that live down in Mass, they live right near the T1 connection. They have probably the fastest internet you'll ever find. We need stuff like that in this area, and that's going to help us and help the area.
I think it would help with that.
Okay, running out. So, you guys are more than welcome to ask questions after. We'll give each of you guys 90-second conclusion.
Sure.
Final plea.
Well, I think that being new to the area, the whole from away thing, but I come to the table with potential for fresh ideas. I've tackled a lot of challenges throughout my career. I've worked in education. I've worked as a business management person. And I've owned my own business. I've lived in multiple cities. I've worked in large urban environments. I've rallied cities. In New York City, I rallied the mayor's office, economic development group, Parks and Rec, set up the 13-station recreational bike share network. We paved the way for bike share in New York City, paved the way for bike share in San Francisco. I work from the middle. That's my leadership style. I'm a coalition builder. I typically leave some sort of legacy. I like to think of myself as visionary. But, the bottom line is I work with people on both sides of the fence. I negotiate from a win-win. That's my strategy. I do my research. And, so my hope is to to work here on this platform that's currently being built. Again, I have great optimism in what I've seen, and I made a choice to move to Skowhegan and invest in property and live here and, and become a part of this. So,
I would just like to say I'd be very honored to serve all of you in the whole community. This is a member of the board. I don't really have this much to offer. It's amazing. But I also will work hard and, like I said before, listen, learn, and make choices and do the best I can for all of you. But this is a great group of people right here, and I think no matter who gets in, this town will be very lucky to have them.
I'm ready to get back some time to my town. I've been here forever, and I'm not going anywhere. So I think this is my time, and it would be, like Vanessa said, an honor to serve on the board and the taxpayer of Skowhegan. And I would definitely go into it with an open mind and ready to learn and serve my community the best I can.
Getting back to my goals. The people's budget, town budget. Ensuring and supporting a good transparent budget that supports our downtown businesses and people of Skowhegan. Money spent wisely and efficiently for the betterment of the community and the town. Our school system, providing great teachers, coaches, administrators to create a welcoming, enriching, and safe school environment for Skowhegan and the surrounding towns of NSAD 54. I work both sides of the aisle. It doesn't matter who you're affiliated with, be it Democrat, Republican, Independent, or other. If you have a good idea, can justify it, be transparent on the table with it, it only makes sense to sit down and look at it. People involved have good ideas. I understand budgets well, and I work with people very well. I hope you'll consider me this coming Tuesday. I encourage you to get the word out and get more voters out there as best as you can, because I love to see the younger vote come in, because they truly have, that's our next generation. We need them, we definitely need them. Thank you for all coming, and can't wait until Tuesday. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and listening to all our hopes and dreams. Like I said before, I came here 10 years ago, and I was welcomed by the town fathers, and I appreciate it. My family was also, and I've been trying to give back to the community, and I will continue with or without your vote, but I appreciate your vote on June 12th, and I'll work hard for you, and I will watch fervently the budget like I have the last 10 years.
Well, yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody here showing up, asking the questions, supporting the chamber and their Meet the Candidate night. I want to thank them as well, and of course all the other candidates for showing up. I feel that, I think Vanessa hit on the head, anybody here that gets elected on the 12th is going to be an asset and benefit to the town. I mean, I hope that vote is for me, obviously, but I don't think I can be mad at anyone else winning it. And certainly hope that, you know, as a town we can come together and really drive forward and move forward and grow.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Thanks Channel 11. So this panel will be on Channel 11 as well for the rest of the community to see that wasn't able to be here tonight. Be sure to get out and vote for your favorite candidate on Tuesday. Good luck to you all. Have a good night.